Possibly that and so much more on this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back to another installment, another Monday edition of the Purple Rain podcast, episode 310. Yes, 310. So, the Arthur Millette episode, Chris Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Troy Smith, Cordell Stewart, Jeremy Ross, and now, most recently, DeAndre Hopkins edition of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. This guy
You're
right here, Instagram at Sutton Def. Me, Instagram simply as10.prod, X simply as10, and most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. The best deal on the interwebs. But I have to ask you, how are you doing? How was your weekend? How are we feeling?
doing great. Number one. Number two, the weekend was very eventful. I actually had some company come down and visit, so that was a lot of fun. Mother's Day was really cool. Shout out to all the mothers, out there. Just want to get that out of the way because, we didn't mention that last time, but Mother's Day did just pass. So big shout out to all of the mothers out there. We love you. We appreciate you. And yeah, shout out to you. But yeah, man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, and not too much Ravens news like concrete. I would say Ravens news has dropped, but like a lot of like speculative things, a lot of like reactionary things that other franchises are coming out and doing that have some sort of like, I guess you could say, conversational impact on the Ravens Twitter and
Yeah.
things like that. So that's what we're here to discuss today. But we want to know how you guys are feeling. We want to know how you guys are feeling. So make sure you sound off in the chat. Make sure you like this video if you are watching this episode 310 of the Purple Rain podcast. We appreciate you for coming through each and every time. Want to give a big shout out to our guy. That's Mod K Dog to you. Says PRP is sponsored by Manscaped. Code PRP for 20% off your entire order plus the free international shipping. Like my guy Alex led the episode with. We got the A Pro 123 in here. What's going on, the A Pro? Appreciate you for popping up, pulling through. Devon Johnson also in the house. What's going on, brother? Says PRP. Hashtag Oler, hashtag highlight goat. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you for coming through as always, man. You guys are in full effect tonight. Make sure if you are part of the hashtag replay gang, first of all, hello, shout out to you. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well as we have more coming in the chat here. We got Kimberly Harmon in the house says, yo, what's up? What's going on, Kimberly? We also have Dylan Paul in the house says, what's up, fellas? What's going on, Dylan? Appreciate you for coming through. Let us know how you're doing. Um, yeah, so Alex, like I said, a lot of conversation pieces going around. But before we get to that, we do want to acknowledge some news that just came out pretty much hot off the press, just as of maybe what, an hour ago.
Yeah.
The Ravens have some new additions. They have some new additions. So let's go ahead and get into our Purple Rain report on that.
Yes. So as you can see here, we signed three more undrafted rookies. We brought in for them rookie mini camps. So the first one is Wyoming kicker John Hoyland. We saw him out there with Tyler Loop. This was kind of expected. Next one is Army offensive tackle Lucas Scott and Louisiana Lafayette defensive back Keon Martin. Like I said, all three of them were in that mini camp on the trial basis. Must have shown something that the coaches liked. You know what? Come and join us as undrafted free agents, and they'll be able to show off in preseason. So that'll be fun, especially for the kicker as well. Like we'll have a kicker competition, but it's Tyler Loops to lose. I mean, if he's looking good in preseason, maybe you can maybe get something out of John Hoyland. Maybe give him the reins. Maybe get a fifth or sixth round pick for him if somebody wants to give it up. Maybe a seventh, but not really the biggest of news, but just news to talk about. Don't expect any of the guys to have a major impact, but hey, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and really what it seems like, what it feels like, what it is it's just competition. I think if you look at the positions that they're bringing in these excess guys and kicker, of course, we're trying to replace our Hall of Fame, literally best kicker of all time, statistics wise, Justin Tucker, who we just released last week, as you guys know. Also, offensive line. that's another kind of, I don't want to say like carousel, because we've got some solidified pieces, but having that depth again, because you never know what's going to happen going into the season. Is a guy going to get hurt? Is a guy going to underperform? You don't know. So having those extra bodies on the team certainly helps. And then you talk about the DB as well. Of course, that's another position where we do feel strong right now at DB. You know, with all of our players. I mean, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, of course, veteran Chidobia Awuzie, Kyle Hamilton, and Malachi Starks on the back end, and then having bringing back an Ardarius Washington. It seems like we're very good there. But as we all know, an NFL season is long, and these seasons get longer and longer. And guess what? The NFL wants to make them even longer than they are right now. You know, they do. So having these excess bodies, especially at DB, which is a place where you do not want to get thin. If you get thin at DB, we've seen up close and personal what that can do to your football team. It's devastating. Quite frankly, it's devastating. So I think, again, like you said, not the biggest of news, but it just makes sense, and you can kind of tell it for what it is based off of the Ravens' primary needs this offseason. This is the competition that they want to bring in for to kind of push guys like Tyler Loop. You know what I mean? Because like you said, it's his job to lose, right? I mean, we drafted him in the 6th round. We've never drafted a kicker in the NFL draft before in Ravens history. So doing that actually speaks volumes to how much they love this kid, and how much the job is again his to lose.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at now. Preseason, somebody has to play the snaps, and DB and tackle are kind of positions what we can get hammered in word wise. So doesn't hurt to have them. So like you said, really not the biggest of news, but still news nonetheless to talk about. And we'll see these guys what mini camp, uh, training camp, and then obviously preseason if they make it that far. But we still like our guy in Graven says there one last spot to get to the 90-man roster, and this is a fantastic transition to maybe us signing that final 90th spot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
recently, last week, a former friend unfortunately got released. A former friend who left us went and got some solid money as a edge rusher. Went back home, and that is one Jadaveon Clowney. Yes, the Panthers, after using 2 draft spots on edge rushers, released Clowney, who was set to make a hefty amount of money, I'd say, and now is hitting open market, a free agent, and being linked back with the move here after having his best season, I think, as a pro with us in 2023, having 9.5 sacks. And it's kind of all the buzz right now. Are we going to bring him back? What's the case to bring him back? Will we have young guys? Where are you at? So I hand it over to you. Let me hear your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, not for me. It's not for me. As enticing as it sounds, I think, and as much as I wanted to jump on my Twitter keyboard and say, "Hey, Ravens, do what you got to do, bring this guy in." When I saw this news originally, I had to kind of like, take a step back. I don't want to put my knee jerk reaction out there because, yeah, that might be my initial reaction, but like, you have that post breaking news clarity, right? You know what I mean? Like after you've had a couple hours to kind of think about it and kind of sit with it, it really just does not make a lot of sense at all, unless we're in the business of stealing reps away from who could have been a potential 1st round pick and like a Mike Green, unless we are in the business of, maybe taking snaps away from Atavius Robinson, who we all have high hopes for, Adafe Owe, and kind of impeding his growth, things like that. So especially for the price, because he's going to want to get paid pretty handsomely. And oh, by the way, we have a Kyle Van Noy, and I'm not the hugest Kyle Van Noy guy. I do like, where he shows up in kind of spurts and things like that, and his veteran leadership and all the things. But I mean, again, that's what he is. He's our veteran leader on the team, and we have him under contract for another season, I believe. So it's just that role is kind of already filled for me. And plus, we have a bunch of young, promising guys. Now, don't get me wrong. If the Ravens didn't go out and draft Mike Green with the 59th pick, I think it was, in this year's draft, then I'd probably say, okay, yeah, maybe it does make a little bit of sense to bring in a little bit of extra edge help, right? But I think that this whole Mike Green thing, just like how he kind of fell to us and people kind of thought that, okay, this is going to be an experiment. That's truly what it is. It's going to be an experiment, and we're going to have to give this guy reps. We're going to have to give Adafe Owe more benefit of the doubt coming off of a 10-sack season, getting him more reps as well. We're going to have to give Tavius Robinson his extra chances to prove that he can be the next maybe staple edge rusher after Kyle Van Noy decides to leave. So all these things, and I get the production that he had in Baltimore in 2023, but me personally, I have a lot of faith, and when I say a lot of faith, I mean like a lot of faith in Chuck Smith. I really, really do. and being able to develop these young guys. Dr. Rush is a guy who, since he's been back with the Ravens have been first in the league in sacks and second in the league in sacks, regular season wise, respectively, in two different seasons, 2023 and 2024. So I have all the faith in the world that he will continue to develop an Adafe Owe, who I'm going to put my chips on the table right now about Adafe Owe. I know I've made a lot of jokes, right, in the past couple of seasons, especially preseasons. I call him, oh, preseason Owe, training camp Owe. You know what I mean? Like he's whatever, whatever. But he really did prove me wrong this season. Like, you know, I think I felt the same way about Owe, a lot of the same way a lot of other Ravens fans felt about Rashod Bateman maybe a year ago. You know what I mean? And now a lot of those Ravens fans who were hating on Rashod Bateman are having to eat their words, and we'll talk about him in a little bit too. But now I'm kind of having to eat my words on Adafe Owe. Is he the game wrecking edge yet? No, right? But he does so many other things so well on the football field. Being able to chase down quarterbacks, being able to set that edge, being able to blow up screens, things like that. Things that don't necessarily really show up on the stat sheet, he does, right? So with that being said, if a guy like a Dr. Rush can develop Mike Green into that type of pass rusher who is going to wreck a game, having that in tandem with an Adafe Owe and with, a veteran presence like a Kyle Van Noy is going to be absolutely limitless. You know what I mean, for their potential. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just not a big fan of bringing Clowney back.
I'd take him back. I feel there's still a couple of holes. My biggest worry, like you said, is taking snaps away from Mike Green. I'm not really too worried about Isaac or Jabo. I mean, Jabo, we're in what year four now. He I, he somehow outlasted George Pickens in the AFC North. I don't know how. There's always that running joke with Jabo Pickens, this and that. Um, for me, it's the right price, and it's having to understand that you're not going to be playing like you were. I think in 2023 he had 5.5 sacks last year, which is nice. Now it's kind of depending how they feel about guys like Tavius Robinson, Ojabo, and Isaac if they were to bring him back, and if they're seeing a good progression. To me right now, I was high on Ojabo. I'm kind of at the point now, like you can maybe cut your losses at this point. If they give him one more run in, it feels like, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, a waste of a roster spot because he was inactive how many games last year? This is a second round pick just being, thrown out there. Same with Adisa Isaac. Wasn't really given a shot. If you don't have faith in the guy and if you can get somebody who feel can make a bigger impact than him, I'm all for it. But as of right now, I think starting off, it's KVN Owe. Then you have Mike Green, pushing to get snaps, and Tavius Robinson. Kind of think about now who's going to take those Malik Harrison snaps. I know he was big at setting the edge last year. Maybe you can see Jadaveon Clowney taking those spots, or maybe Tavius or Mike Green. But for the right price, I'm there. Um, if it's anywhere close to what he was supposed to make, I'm out. But everything to me has the right price. And if you bring him in on the kind of a vet minimum ish kind of deal and he doesn't look the best, you can kind of cut your losses before 53-man rosters are cut. But once again, for the right price, think he can definitely have impact with us. But I don't think he'll be putting up 9.5 sacks like he did 2 years ago. I think that different defense as well.
Yeah, definitely a different defense. And, another reason why I've been, out on Jadaveon Clowney since the news dropped is because, like you said, there's other holes on the team that could be addressed before getting another edge rusher, yet another edge rusher. And I know that sounds crazy because I've been clamoring for an edge rusher for the past, I don't know how many months, I guess, since the season ended. But, um, you know, we have a void kind of like in the middle of that defensive line. You know what I mean? Because there were some guys that we lost. I mean, most notably like a Michael Pierce, who his presence is going to be felt if we do not get more big bodies, if we do not get, like a nose tackle. It's I think that the money, the excess cap space or whatever is left should go towards a big beefy defensive lineman, for lack of better words. So it's just like I'm kind of all out, like in every single way imaginable on Jadavion Clowney. Because another thing is like he wouldn't come in to be a 3 down rusher, and if he was, that would actually upset me a lot because that would stunt the growth of other guys. So I feel like who are on obviously cheaper contracts and who their value could be greater if they actually were given the chance to perform. Um, but just to bring him in, like think about who do you want in on 3rd down, rushing the passer if Jadavion Clowney was on the roster.
I mean, we're talking about third and long.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's say like third and 8.
I'm definitely putting Owe on there for speed.
Yeah,
That's gonna be Owe and KVN right now, but by the end of the year, I can see Mike Green stepping in right there for probably Calvin Way. Wouldn't surprise
yeah, yeah. And see, and that's my thing. Like, if the Ravens were to bring in a Jadaveon Clowney, like you said, I think on like a third and long, they would trot Adafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy out there. So it's like, where do you fit in Mike Green on third downs if you're going to be putting in Jadavion Clowney and prioritizing him because you're paying more money for him and you feel forced to put him on the field? Uh, Again, I just would rather get as much return as investment on possible on Mike Green sooner rather than later. I mean, I feel like we need to be putting that guy to work, from the beginning of the season, because the faster we can get the return on investment, the better and just like the sweeter that pick looks and the
it.
better the draft is in hindsight, because getting him in the second round at pick 59 again, like I think it was, but getting him at that spot and to have him come and perform on a rookie contract at a premium position and one of the only premium positions that the Ravens were really lacking, which is like a premier edge rusher, that would be, again, the potential would be limitless for this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look what Jared Verse did for the Rams last year. I think he
Facts, yeah.
had one of his best games against the Eagles in the game where I feel like the Rams could have easily won it, and their hardest game of the postseason last year was against the Rams. They had no answer for him. So throw our guy in the fire, see what you can get. I mean, he's a first round talent. He's much higher than what number 59 overall. What we got him at,
Yeah.
whatever it was. I mean, that's not the true value. So I'm there with you. Same time, if you bring him in and he's not showing anything, he waits until like August to sign to skip all the mini camps, skip the training camp. I don't think he'll sign anytime soon. I'm glad we're talking about it here. But if he were to sign, it'd be later in the year or later in the summer, I'd say. But there's guys like Judon out there and Tadarius Smith. But I'm actually behind you as well. Like, bring me a nose tackle because we don't. Michael Pierce isn't back. Brent Urban is a free agent. Like that's a lot of meat that we lost. No pun intended. No, we got Ines Peebles, but I still want a vet nose tackle that has seen the game. That can come in there and help stuff the run because we got some new life in the AFC North running back wise. So I want them to meet AFC North football. But yeah, I'd rather get a nose tackle right now than edge afterwards. I feel like that's just a bigger pressing need.
There we go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just kind of looking at some of the comments here from towards Jeff Zarebek, they're kind of in agreement. Like Jeff Zarebek says where they're really lacking is a big body defensive tackle who can take up space inside. Neither of those guys fill that need. Those guys being Zadarius Smith and Jadavion Clowney that the other guy here was talking about. Then he mentions, can they afford a Raekwon Davis? He says, don't see why not. Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, it's, I think, the last addition that the Ravens will make to their roster, or the last transaction will be a big body defensive tackle, you know, and I think rightfully so. I think rightfully so. Um, Let me see. So Christian here, what's going on? Christian says just got in here, but yes, we should pursue Jadavion Clowney. That is. Y'all know how hard they work. Someone's not going to be 100% all season. Ojabo will not do anything, and the second year guy really won't do much at all. Honestly, I mean, I understand. I understand there. Um, Again, my chips are in the basket of let's see what some of these younger guys can do. We've got the veteran presence already in a Calvin Noy who, how many sacks did Calvin Noy have last season?
I think 8, maybe 9. No, he had more than that. He had like 6 to start the year off.
Yeah,
Um,
he started off
I'm gonna
high,
go double digits.
and I think it was like double digits or something damn close.
12.5.
Yeah, yeah.
12.5.
So 12.5. So if you're already getting that Jadavian Clowney type of production, right, and if not even more with a Kyle Van Noy, then I just don't think that it would justify the means of getting a Jadavian Clowney as well as another veteran presence on top of that already. I mean, that's two expensive veteran presences at edge where that's a position where you want your young guys to be the best. I'd rather have my young guys outperforming the vets. I would. I would, because I'm getting more value there. But I understand. I get you, Christian. I get you. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic of the show. So we talked about the Ravens' newest additions. We talked about Jadaveon Clowney as well, and should we pursue him or should we not?
Yes.
But this was an interesting one. This next one is an interesting one. So we talked about Rashod Bateman briefly earlier in the show. There was some news that came out over the weekend. I want to say it was that the Cowboys actually attempted to trade for Rashod Bateman, but talks did not get far. Per Schultz report, the Ravens were not letting him go. So, Alex, when you saw this news originally, what were your initial thoughts on the Cowboys pursuing Rashod Bateman?
Um, Between last year losing Patrick Queen and if we would have lost Rashad Bateman this year, I would have taken it as a sign that maybe sports aren't my thing. After you lose, players like back to back years, I would have like, you know what? I'm still gonna be a fan, but maybe may I just take a step back because this one really hurt. But I kind of was flattered by it. It's like, when you're in a relationship and somebody, hits on you, you're like, oh, like I appreciate it, but I'm taken, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not trying, I still have it. Bateman,
right.
like, he didn't request a trade. We didn't put him out there on the trade block. They're calling for him. When was the last time you heard another team calling the Ravens like, "Hey, I want this wide receiver," that didn't request a trade?
That's
Marquise Brown.
facts.
Like,
Yeah,
there was nobody's disgruntled. They're calling us, and they called us before they called the Steelers for George Pickens, which it says a lot to me. And people were debating back and forth. Who would you rather have? And you can have like when you put it all like you can make a good case for either side, but I think they made the best choice possible as a Ravens fan. But it kind of made me happy. I was like, wow, like he's teams want him, and other teams see what we see in him. So it surprised me nonetheless. I mean, him and CD would be two route running technicians, but I'm happy he's staying in Baltimore, and I would have been distraught if he were to go. Not gonna lie.
yeah. I think flattering is definitely the right word for it, especially as a Ravens fan, as a Rashod Bateman truther at that. It kind of reminds me of when a couple of weeks ago Bill Belichick had came out in his book saying that he wishes that he would have drafted Lamar Jackson, and it's like, okay, yeah, and so you see it, right? But it is really cool to see that other teams around the league see it, because let a lot of other fans of a lot of other teams tell it. Rashad Bateman ain't nothing. Like he
Yep.
ain't shit. And we're gonna get into that in just a second too. But I mean, Rashad Bateman, he is a guy who, again, I think, like you said, over 750 yards last season, 9 touchdowns. Showed up in the postseason as well. Scored a touchdown against the Bills. Should have been 2 touchdowns in that game, might I add. So I mean, this guy is really quiet as kept, right? Knocking on the door as like being a breakout wide receiver two and fringe wide receiver one, depending on what he goes out there and does this year. And again, the thing about Rashad Bateman, he has all the tools to do it. He does not have any physical limitation. He has the height. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. He's got the quickness, the shiftiness. He's got it all. He's got the route running. He's got it all, really. So I mean, the fact that Lamar Jackson is getting more comfortable finding Bateman and trusting Bateman, that's huge. And I think that it'll speak volumes next season when we see them that connection actually come to life a little bit more. So again, like you said, it is very flattering to see. But let me see what you guys are saying here. Don Royal says Pickens should be a Raven. They picked Queen over him.
Oh,
Wait a
job.
minute. Yeah, I better say
Queen
you're
was
thinking of
2020.
Jabo.
Pickens was 2020.
Yeah, yeah, you're thinking
We
of
picked
Jabo.
Higgins over. We picked Queen over Higgins. I know that, and then
Yeah.
Jabo over Pickens.
Let me see. Black Daniels in the house. What's going on? Black Daniels says Bateman would have gone to Dallas and they would have glazed him. Meanwhile, they trash him to his face on socials. That's crazy. Yeah,
Here's
man.
here's my biggest gripe with that. They were treating him with respect with the MVP talk, saying like Lamar had weapons, and now it's back to like, who's this guy?
Yeah,
I've noticed that because what we're about to show you, you'll see like where people really truly how they feel about him, and that's kind of where my problem's at. Like you're gonna boost them up when you're getting something out of it compared to when you're not. So, healthy Bateman, like give me another year, healthy Bateman. I have some interesting stats when we talk about our next topic. I'm pretty sure you'll be surprised when we start comparing Bateman and other receivers. But yeah,
yeah.
give me another year, healthy Bateman. I personally want him to get extended right now before he breaks the bank again. But It's right now like severely underpaid, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not EDC, so I'm not making those moves.
Yeah, and speaking of the next topic, I mean, it has to do with Rashod Bateman. So let's go ahead and get right into it. There was a tweet that came out earlier today that hit Ravens Twitter about wide receiver 2 power rankings. You know, a very off season esque piece of content here. I will admit that, but it was interesting to think about, right? Because like the wide receiver 2 on every team, like how do you rank those guys? You know, we all know how the best receivers in the league are ranked, but these wide receiver 2s, how do we rank them per team? So Alex, when you're looking at this right here, what really jumps out to you? Because if you notice, all you guys are watching the live stream right now, you're not just listening to the audio. Rashod Bateman is all the way down at number 27 out of 32 wide receiver 2s in this list here. And there's some names in between him and number 1 that are like really head scratchers, if you ask me. So, Alex, again, with no further ado, I know you've got the stats pulled up for this. What were your thoughts overall on this rankings right here that we see?
Mario Douglas ahead of him. Wandale Robinson ahead of him. Tyler Lockett, who nobody wanted, ahead of him. Cedric Tillman, all right. Adam Thielen, Alan Lazard, who might get cut. Christian Kirk, who was cut. Rashid Shaheed, Keon Coleman, who Bills fans were saying Rashad Bateman is way better than Keon Coleman when talking about the MVP. Roma Dunze, who I mean, was hit or miss last year. Darnell Mooney, who to me I thought there was a wide receiver 3. Um, Debo Samuel coming off of a very bad year. Xavier Worthy, Romeo Dobbs, and then you have Travis Hunter ahead of him. Jalen Waddle ahead of him. If we're going to base off of last year, which it seems like we are, um, Rashad Bateman had more yards than Jalen Waddle, more touchdowns as well, less targets and more catches. Rashad Bateman had than Jalen Waddle, which it just makes you wonder because he's not next to a Tyreek Hill. He's not in a pass happy offense. He's in a run first offense, putting up better numbers than some of these guys.
Yeah.
Um, I can give you most of these guys, but I'm gonna fight Jamison Williams on the number 2. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna fight Bateman being a better number 2 than Jamison Williams, and I can catch slack for that. But outside of that, I think he's top 10 for sure. I just a lot of these names like I don't understand how we're gonna have the only people that he's better than is Alec Pierce, Trey Tucker, Marvin Mims, Mike Williams, and Robert Woods. Like this
Yeah.
is completely disrespectful. And I try to like not look at these things, but I'm sorry, Demario Douglas.
Yeah.
Like some of these names, it's just it's diabolical. It's barbaric.
It is.
Um,
It is. It's
yeah,
blasphemous.
like honestly, like it's just this right here. I know this being a homer, but this is being real. There's no way you have 26 guys, like this ahead of him. It's just
Yeah.
not.
No way. Um, I think the big thing about this list that really kind of took me aback was that, you know, I think a lot of people are not thinking about the fact that, like you said, the Ravens are a run first team, and he's putting up better stats than some of these guys up here with not being not being on a pass first team, and then also not even being the first, second, or maybe even third option. You know what I mean? Like the thing about Rashod Bateman is that he made the most out of most of his opportunities last season. Yeah, there were the couple of plays, right, where we kind of look back and like, Rashad, what were you doing? What were you doing? Where he lost the ball in the sun, right? That was a big one. He had another drop, I think over the middle or something like that, in that season, and maybe a couple more here and there. But for the most part, I mean, the guy had damn near a breakout season. He really did. And if you watched a lot of like his big touchdowns, they were touchdowns of all sorts. I mean, coming over the middle, you know what I mean, back at the end zone, going over the top, taking the top off the defense, being real shifty and really like getting those extra yak yards. I mean, the guy has it all, right? He has it all. And like a lot of these other guys here that I see, they don't pass the eye test the same way that Rashod Bateman does. They don't pass a lot of them don't pass the same, like, I guess you could say like physical attributes test the same way that Rashod Bateman does. Half of them don't even run as good of routes as Rashod Bateman. Rashod Bateman is as good as anybody at separation in the league, yet he's the 27th ranked wide receiver 2, counted, wide receiver 2 on this list. It just doesn't make any sense. And, I hope that, again, Lamar and his relationship on the field continues to progress because keep proving the haters wrong. Like you said in your video, man. I mean, we didn't write back. We are not writing back on this one, man. And the league is just gonna have to continue to get bullied by Rashod Bateman by virtue. Maybe it's by virtue of him getting guarded by the second or maybe third best DB on the team. But hey, he can only cook who's in front of him. But again, just to wrap it all up, like for him to be on a run first offense, and when they do pass the ball, he's not the first or second option, and for him to still be outperforming some of these guys production wise, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy.
And you look at the guys, and this is no disrespect towards Zay Flowers because we love him, but like you look at these top guys next to Chase, next to AJ Brown, next to Puka Nakua for Tay or Cup, next to Mike Evans, next to CD Lamb, next to Justin Jefferson, next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
is it's just it's very questionable. And then you put him up there. I mean, he probably outperformed most of these guys come playoff time. It just stuff like this. I looked at the guy on Instagram, 100,000 followers for this man. I mean, stuff like this you deserve to get cooked because it just shows a lack of just knowledge and just clickbaiting. I mean, there's like I said, there's no way you sit here in the big 2025 like you know what, I'm gonna pick Tyler Lockett over Rashad Bateman because you just don't watch it. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah.
don't know. It's just
I
very
don't
frustrating.
understand it either. It's baffling sometimes. But again, like it's like off season rage bait.
Yeah.
These accounts that you see like this, and I see this account all the time on my timeline. To be honest with you, I see it all the time, as well as all the other like kind of meme NFL accounts where they post real news. But at the same time, they'll post like bullshit like this. And it's just like you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, because they got to keep the content going on the off season. I get it, right? I get it, but man, just the disrespect that you see from this list here, it doesn't reflect what you see the actual NFL executives, the GMs doing, taking looks at guys like Rashod Bateman, like hey, like he would be a very good supplemental piece to our offense, which he is. That's exactly what he is. So yeah, man. But all right, let's go ahead and move on from that. Do we have anything else for this episode?
We do. I'm sorry. I'm just baffled. Wandale Robinson had, I believe,
Oh,
93 catches last year for 100
yeah,
140 targets, 700 yards, three touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, 45 receptions, 72 targets, 756 yards, uh, nine touchdowns. Like
yeah.
this guy doubled the targets in Bateman and had 50 some less yards receiving. It just it blows my mind. It blows
And I think the big thing about because where was Wando Robinson placed on this? Is I'm trying to find him in here.
ahead of him, one spot ahead of him.
Oh, just one spot ahead. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Uh, yeah, yeah. So another thing, Wando Robinson on the Giants. I guess you know bigger market is what I can say. Like this is literally just like it's kind of like a popularity thing because it's obviously not by and they say power rankings, right? Like so it's kind of like muddies the waters. Okay, is it just like opinion based? Is it popularity? Is it production? Like what is it? And that's what makes the nuance and so interesting in these conversations because you can talk about it and like anybody. I'm sure fan bases of some of these other teams might get upset that guys are ranked ahead of them, but we know our guy in Rashod Bateman what he was able to do last season, and we fully expect him to take the next step this season as well. Um, I mean, only difference is that I'll say for Rashod Bateman is that there is going to be DeAndre Hopkins there that I know Lamar Jackson wants to get him the ball in the same way that Lamar Jackson wanted to get Odell Beckham Jr. the ball when he had his stint in Baltimore. These veteran wide receivers that are kind of like these. Let me put it like this: these notorious veteran wide receivers like an Odell, like a DeAndre Hopkins. Lamar likes those guys a lot. And he will make a concerted effort to get them the football. So I hope that doesn't, lead to a dip in Rashod Bateman's target share. That would really suck. But again, man, I think that the relationship between Lamar and Bateman is ever growing, and I think it continues to take another step forward.
I'm just looking through some more of these guys, man. I mean, I've gone through three guys already ahead of him, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking like 15, 20 less catches, and we're still talking 100 yards plus. We're talking tripling
Yeah,
touchdowns, and
yeah,
that's just where I'm just like, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Like, We're not in 2021, 22 anymore. We're in 2025. You see what this guy can do. I think he's going to have even a better year next year with D Hop there. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mm.
think he'll have more big plays. I think he'll have more catches over the middle, taking up the field for more yak. I think he's looking better health wise. I think he's stronger. I think he's faster. I just don't see it, but I will happily let them sleep. I do have a little bit more news. If you do
Okay,
want to
hold
move
on.
on.
Let's go ahead and switch back. Let's switch over to our chat box here.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah. So I was reading the Jeff Rebeck article earlier. He posted about Jadaveon Clowney and had a couple of notes in there. So I'll just start off with one. Keaton Mitchell is back to 22 miles per hour, putting that up, which is very
Okay.
exciting to see. I think he'll have a bigger overall in the offense this year than he did last year. It'll be Derrick Henry, Justice Hill with some Keaton Mitchell for some speed as well. But one really important thing, though, I saw Sam Cook is no longer a coach with the Baltimore Ravens. Has been confirmed.
Hmm.
No longer working with our special teams. We brought in Anthony Levine, but don't want to speculate. I feel like the whole Justin Tucker stuff. He's probably riding with his guy and step down. Obviously, it's full speculation on my behalf, but that's what I'm thinking. Um, Love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, the whole Wolfpack situation, right? Like, I feel like those three guys were very, very close and tight knit, and in a very sensitive situation like this for Justin Tucker, where he's been with the franchise for so long, so had, as had Sam Cook, those guys probably have a very, very solid bond and brotherhood connection, whatever you want to call it. And like you said, I think he's just standing with his guy, and Sam Cook, I don't think that, coaching special teams for the Ravens and helping them out in that department is like his main focus. He's already given a lot of his life to football. So I think that it kind of just works for him, like to step down, maybe go do something else, focus on other things in his life. And at the same time, stand by his boy, which is, that's what he wants to do. Respect to him, salute. Sam Cook also had a lot of good years in Baltimore. Won't talk bad about him, but yeah, I think you're totally right about that. He's just standing with this guy.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting who we can help out with Jordan Stout. I still think there's more untapped potential. Things are punter for the future, but I'd be lying if I said he didn't have to improve in some spots of his punting. We're that in the offseason now. We're talking about punters, so
Yeah,
we're unfortunately, I want to see more coffin corners from you, Jordan Stout, more hang time.
yeah.
But
Oh,
we're a special teams guru, so this is where you're gonna make your money, your bread and butter, Mr. Harbaugh. I'm looking directly at you, but I'm also looking forward to how Anthony Levine gets our special teams. For next year, he was a freaking captain of that. Punt team was immaculate. Kick team was immaculate. I hope we can get back to that and maybe what is it? Lejante Wester returning those punts and
yeah,
kicks next year.
yeah. That'll be exciting to see Lejante Wester out of Colorado doing his thing on special teams because that's where he's going to be. But you mentioned Keaton Mitchell
Hmm.
and Keaton Mitchell getting back to 22 miles an hour running. That is very exciting to hear. My only thing about Keaton Mitchell is that how are we going to work him into this game plan because
Yeah.
the passing game showed a lot last year, a lot of promise and a lot of just not even promise or potential, like actual production. You know what I mean? Like Lamar had a historic season and the passing game looked really good. So I think that the tides are kind of turning a little bit in terms of us being, of course, we're still a run first team, but the ties are kind of shifting a little bit more towards us throwing the ball because we can. Lamar Jackson's progressed so much in his career in doing that. Plus, we have more weapons than ever now, as for pass catchers as options. So it's just I don't know where Keaton Mitchell being below a Derrick Henry, being below a Justice Hill on the depth chart, like where is he going to be worked in? Is it going to like what situations? Or are we talking like uh, a second and short where we run Derrick Henry off the field, so they really don't know what we're gonna do. Are they gonna pound it up the middle with Keaton Mitchell? Or are they gonna go play action with Keaton Mitchell and go over the top with Lamar? Like what are they gonna do? And maybe they hand it to Mitchell in a situation like that on second and short, and he pops off a big run. And I just don't know where he's going because I don't necessarily want to see him on special teams. I don't. I don't want to see him trying to run through waves of guys. I want to see him running by guys, like running, around the offensive line. Let's get him on the outside. Let's get that speed up to 22 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Which I don't think he reaches that, of course, with pads on. But yeah, what do you think Keaton Mitchell's future role is going to be on this Ravens offense?
We're gonna go maybe a change of speed back. Um, Maybe if we're playing a team with a lot of guys out heavy up front, maybe you can bring him, take on the outside, burn somebody. I think he had a screen against the Texans where he made something out of nothing, and he was nowhere near 100% last year. I think Harbaugh said that they were saving him, trying to protect him because he got hurt too late in the season for him to really come back. But I know there were sometimes we would have both Henry and Hill in the fields, maybe Henry and Keaton, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like Justice Hill isn't, an X factor at least in his offense. I want him to still get his snaps. And Dre says here, probably more of a threat to Justice, but Justice has been so consistent. How do you take snaps from him? Yeah, how do you? I mean, he's done everything you ask him to do. Running it, catching it out of the pass game. I mean, I don't know what you do, so it's kind of a good problem to have. But I'm gonna go change his feedback, and maybe it's third and long. You have him on there. Maybe save Justice a little bit because Justice was taking some hits last year. But Sam says here, what's the point of Rasheen Ali? Um, you're fighting for your life returning punts and kicks with LeJontay Wester. That is the only way I think he can make this team. I don't see him having a role in the offense because even when games were gone, Keaton Mitchell in 2023, the Seahawks game, broke off a big run. You know, Garbage time, he's breaking off runs. Ali was fumbling. I hate to say that. I want him to succeed, but he's facing an uphill battle. He has to have a really good preseason for him to even have a chance of making this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's kind of like a good problem to have that we do have such like a great lineup of running backs that we can trot out there. And like my guy Dre said before, like how do you take away snaps from Justice Hill when he's been so damn consistent over the years as a backup running back? Like whatever you ask this man to do, he will do it, right? If it's laying a block, like a clutch block somewhere, or like a free rusher up the middle, whether it's catching the ball out of the backfield, whether it's staying alive for Lamar Jackson while he dances around and does his thing so he can find you in the flat somewhere and you take it in for the touchdown against the Steelers. Whether it's, coming in as a change of pace back himself behind Derrick Henry, and breaking off big runs and averaging 6, 7, 8 yards a carry in certain games, because he's just that good. He's that good and nobody really expects it. So, with Keaton Mitchell, again, he is kind of like that, what you would think would be like a home run kind of running back. But I want to see us get him in the game. I would love to see him on like some screens and less like Zay Flowers screens and things like that. Like, get this guy Keaton Mitchell the ball on the outside around the line of scrimmage, let him catch a block or two, and then let him just get off to the races and see who can beat him in a foot race.
Yeah,
That's why I think we bring in Keaton Mitchell and again, Todd Monken, third-year offensive coordinator for the Ravens now, is going to have his work cut out for him when it comes to trying to find a way to get all these guys on the field because they're all threats, right? They're all threats, and if you can kind of find a way to use them evenly and balance their potential between each other, this again, I've used the word limitless a lot on this episode of the show. Earlier was for defense, but if you can master how to use those running backs in that running back room, Alex, then the offense will be even more limitless than it was last year.
yeah, it's exciting, and I think to me when you look at this team on paper, talent wise, I think it go band for band with 2023. I really think it can. I think the offense is a lot better. I think when you compare receivers, Zay, Bate, where he is now, and Hop, I think it's better than Zay, Bate, and Odell, where they were a couple years ago. I
Yeah,
think tight ends better. I mean, managers maybe a little bit of regression, but Likely's progression I think kind of trumps that, along with Kolar, who we've
yeah,
seen had a pretty good year last year, being a uh, third, uh, third tight end. And running back, I mean, I don't think it's really any question. Hill's progression with Derrick Henry, compared to what we had. So now it's just the line. Can the line, that's my big question mark. And if they really can show me something, I mean, it's a damn good offense with a whole lot of question marks. How do you defend it? And like we go back to what was it, Tom Munkin's introductory press conference, covering every inch or blade of grass on the field or grade of turf. Hopefully, we're playing on grass more than turf.
right.
I think you've built that offense pretty damn
Yeah, you've built it very, very well. And honestly, literally, the only questions now is how does it fare in January?
good. Yep.
That's it. That's all it boils down to now. The Ravens have lost playoff games under the Lamar Jackson era for two key reasons. Number one, they turn the ball over a lot. They turn the ball over, and that's kind of like the mental miscues. I don't know if it's like the yips or what it is for Lamar or maybe anybody else on the offense who seems to have these miscues in the playoffs that are just very uncharacteristic. It seems like. And then on the flip side, the defense plays pretty well. They bend, they don't break, but they don't force any turnovers to kind of correct the ship for the Ravens or to kind of put them ahead, like turnovers tend to do in playoff games, especially. So if the Ravens, like again, the Ravens have, like you said, everything that they need on offense, pretty much. I mean, the offensive line is somewhere where we're still kind of figuring out what we're going to do, especially at those two guard positions. But for the most part, all the weapons are there. I mean, we have one of the big four quarterbacks, right? And we all know what the big four is. We have one of those guys. So it's just a matter of being able to, again, man, make less mistakes in the playoffs. That's all it boils down to. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah, I see Sam here asking if the pass rush through week 1 to 6 doesn't produce, do we trust EDC to trade for a guy? I think he would. I'm just trying to look at guys who are on their last year of their deal, free agent wise. I mean, T.J. Watt, Trey Hendrickson, those guys won't get traded here. Khalil Mack, I don't think the Chargers will be in a bad spot to trade. And a lot of these guys are on good teams. Leonard Floyd up there in age. I mean, I feel like he would try to trade for somebody, but there's really not a lot of value of who we could help out this team. A guy I'd be interested in maybe if the Dolphins aren't doing good, Jalen Phillips, but I want to think that our pass rushes will be doing just fine week 1 through 6. Don't have to trade for anybody. Fingers crossed. I hope
yeah, definitely fingers crossed. Again, I have a lot of faith in our pass rush specialist, pass rush coach, Chuck Smith, that he will get this team right back in position to contend for top three sacks in the league yet again. But the difference is developing that guy who teams literally have to game plan for, or else he will wreck their game. That's what a game wrecking edge rusher is, and I don't think that we've really had that guy. It's not an Adafe Owe, it's not a Kyle Van Noy, it's not anybody that's been on our roster for the past couple of seasons. We really haven't seen that since Suggs, to be honest with you. So if we can get that guy back in the building, that is, man. And if we see it in the first 6 weeks, Sam, that would be even better. Hopefully, it can be a guy like a Mike Green, and we can just get immediate return on investment on a guy like that. But we will see. We will see. Dre says it's the first time in a while that he loves what we have in our edge rusher room, and I agree. I agree.
Yeah. One final thing I do want to say.
Okay.
A lot of scheduled leaks dropping tomorrow. A lot dropping tomorrow.
Yeah, I
If I
forgot
were a
about that.
betting man,
Yeah.
well, the actual schedule comes out Wednesday, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Ravens Bills week 1 Sunday Night Football. Saying it now. Um, it makes the most sense. We will not be home week 1. The Orioles are playing the Dodgers here. They will not move that game for anything because I'll probably be one of the few series that gets sold out. Ravens Bills week 1 Sunday Night Football. Bank on it.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I could see it. I mean, not the Ravens, but the NFL loves to make the Ravens relive their trauma immediately as the season starts. You know, they did the same thing last season with putting us against the Chiefs in Kansas City on Thursday Night Football to open the league year. But this year, I could totally see them throwing us at 8:20 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday Night Football on NBC, and we're going against the Bills in Buffalo to kind of just give that rematch, to give that rematch of the divisional round last year. I wouldn't put it past the NFL. Now, do I hope they do that? No, I
Yeah.
don't. I would rather start the season 1 p.m. CBS, you know what I mean,
Yep.
against some AFC team that, whatever AFC team really, as long as it's 1 p.m. CBS, just not prime time. Like
Yep.
I don't care who we play really, but like I don't think we need that for the first game every single season. Like, why does the NFL have to rely on us, right? To entertain the world, to usher the NFL back to the world in September. I just don't know. I just don't know why. But well, actually, I do know why. It's because Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are very freaking entertaining. That's why. But I think it just sucks for us because last year we started off 0-2. And I think that the only reason why we lost that game against the Raiders in week 2 was because of the hangover of that week 1 Chiefs game that we had. I think we put a lot of emotion and everything into that game, especially considering how the season prior ended. And I think that kind of bit us in the ass, for lack of better words, and why we didn't play better and up to our standard in that game. So, yeah, but I do think you're right, though. If I was a betting man, if they put this on FanDuel, I would say that'd be like a minus 110 bet. You know what I mean? Like that because the NFL, they know what they're doing, and they know for the primetime games, they're going to have the best teams with the most interesting storylines right there front and center for you to watch because that's what brings in the dollars. So, yeah. Schedule release 8 p.m. Wednesday. They've already started to release a couple of games. I think they already
Yes.
did the Thursday night one, right? What was that Thursday
So we
night game?
got Cowboys Eagles start the season off. Then it's gonna be
Mm,
Chargers Chiefs on Friday, I believe, in Brazil. Um, and then the doubleheader, I believe, we're gonna Black Friday is Bears at Eagles. This doubleheader, I believe, week 16 or 17 is gonna be the Commanders Eagles and I believe the Bears Packers. Christmas game Broncos at Chiefs, the night game. I really hope for the Ravens players' sakes we do not play them Christmas. It's been back to back years away from home from their families. Um, be a human, give them this Christmas off. I'm really hoping. But
yeah,
that's all. Sam says if Rodgers is a Steeler, we're playing in Pittsburgh week 1. I think if he goes there, Monday Night Football, Packers, Steelers. Don't don't forget when that happens, if that happens. But
yeah.
yeah,
I could see
I
that.
think
I could see
2023
that.
Ravens Texans week 1, CJ Stroud 1 p.m. game. That was a fun game. Not J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins getting hurt, but it was a fun game. We got to just relax. So
Right.
I feel like
Right.
it's gonna be
Namdi
prime time
Matabike. I'll
game.
never forget that sack. Very cool sack from Matabike in that game.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I want to get the season started off like on a roll. Like we kind of had to dig ourselves out of a hole last regular season. So by the time the playoffs started, it kind of felt like not like we were stumbling because our last couple of games we played really well, but I felt like we were behind the curve still, and we really were. We really were. We're used to kind of contending for that first seed in the AFC, but all that went out of the window once we lost the first 2 weeks of the season. We were just kind of playing catch up for the rest of the year. But yeah, man. So schedule release on Wednesday at 8 p.m., which means we will be here on Thursday talking about it, giving our schedule predictions, going down each and every game.
mm.
Always a very fun time of year when that schedule drops, man, because you kind of get to see, okay, this is the storyboard for this season. We don't know how it's going to be filled out yet, but this is like the order of operations, right? For lack of a better word. So it's gonna be fun. Hopefully you stick around here on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel so you can catch that episode on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, my name is Sutton Def. That is simply AS10 right there down below. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. And then also you can go on our sponsor's website, manscaped.com. You can type in code PRP at checkout, and you're going to save yourself 20% plus the free international shipping. Again, man, we love and appreciate each and every one of you guys for rocking out with us through the off season. Of course, we got more content coming your way. But with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through episode 310 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes, yes, yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Episode 310 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.